Welcome to Worship Matters, a short series walking through Westminster's worship service. My hope is whether you've been coming to Westminster for your whole life, or you just started coming to Westminster this past year, or maybe you're just online looking to learn more about our church, this series will be helpful as you learn why we do what we do in our worship service, so that we'll be able to worship God together with greater understanding and joy. Now, before we get started, I want to make two comments up front. First, it's important to know that Westminster's worship service is ordered in an intentional way. Each element is there for a purpose, in a way that seeks to reflect a pattern we see in Scripture. We don't just worship the way we do because we've done it since 1968 or because we just took a random collection of elements to a service, but our goal is to pattern ourselves after Scripture and seek to communicate biblical principles. Second, while I say that, it's also worth noting that many elements in our service are the application of biblical principles, not biblical commands. It shouldn't be surprising that given the variety of God's people, many churches choose to emphasize different things or apply biblical principles in different ways when it comes to worship style or the elements or order of their service. If we go through this series as we talk about why Westminster has ordered our service the way we have, and we end up concluding with a sinful arrogance that we do it right and others do it wrong, this series will be a failure. But if, on the other hand, we understand why each element of our worship service is here, so that it enables us to enter more fully with our hearts, our minds, and our souls in our worship of God, then this series will be a success. With that said, let's look at the very beginning of our worship service. The first line of our weekly bulletin actually starts before the beginning of the worship service. It reads right at the top, "As you enter, begin to worship quietly." The purpose of this time of Prelude is to prepare our hearts to worship God. In fact, our building was designed so that our conversations and fellowship and community could happen in the gathering space. And then the narthex serves as a transition room as you enter the sanctuary to sit down and quiet our hearts before the Lord. After all, true worship flows from a focus on God, on who He is and what He's done for us. And so our goal as we come in and take time to quietly prepare our hearts is to focus on Him and to enable others to do the same, so that we will see the delightful beauty and awesome glory of God, and our hearts will be led to genuine worship of Him based on His character and His salvation. Now, of course, the goal here is preparation. It's not an ironclad rule of silence, and sometimes those two might not go together. For instance, parents may want to talk with their children quietly about the worship service to explain what's about to happen and help prepare their hearts to worship. Members may want to greet visitors and help them feel comfortable in the worship service or understand what's happening. But in all of this, our goal in the prelude, in this time of preparation, is to turn our hearts and our minds toward God. It's to focus on who He is, on His character and His salvation, so that our hearts are moved in genuine worship with reverence and with joy to the glory of His name.